So what I want to know that a lot of people in Germany, like after finishing their masters, just like you guys, they have two options. One to go for a PhD, the other one is to look for a job. So what was your sort of like thinking? Why did you not go for a job right after completing the master? Why did you choose the PhD?
Sometimes industries and academias can go in very different directions, and you end up after doing your PhD by not finding any jobs because there is nobody who's working in that particular field.
Why did you choose the job and not the PhD? What is this communication technologies about? What sort of people with a different background like electrical engineering, computer science, software engineering, can they also apply in this field? So Khubaib bhai, about the PhD, a lot of people ask me from Pakistan, from India, from different regions that how to apply for a PhD. Is it possible if they are back there in Pakistan and they want to apply directly here? If yes, what are the sort of requirements they need?
That draft that they have drawn to basically that is for the ideal candidate, but there is no ideal candidate for any PhD position. So apply, and then when you develop a channel of communication, that is the start of everything.
अभी टेस्ट ड्राइव चल रही है। ये हुबान भाई ने नई गाड़ी ली है और ये गाड़ी की टेस्ट ड्राइव सारे दोस्त कर रहे हैं बारी बारी। इस गाड़ी की प्राइस आप लोग गेस करें कितनी है? मैं कर चुका हूँ।
But then you don't see this side. I think they were just trying to figure out if we are refugees, and if we are, how come we have so much money that we can spend? And at the end, Yasser took out his golden MasterCard and just I think he didn't want to explain to Zishan more. He wanted to fling it around over there.
तो आज के दिन हम लोग पॉडकास्ट करने लगे एक PhD वाला, क्योंकि मेरी काफ़ी रिक्वेस्ट है ये कि यार अभी तक किसी PhD बॉय को नहीं पकड़ा, आज पकड़ लिए। इसका मैं ले चुका हूँ, इसे इग्नोर कर। खैर आज PhD में डिस्कस होगी और कम्युनिकेशन टेक्नोलॉजी वाइज कुछ जॉब से भी डिस्कस होगी। कैसे इन बॉय की गाड़ी थी, हमने अभी चेक की है, मुबारक हो। सबसे
अभिनव तो बॉयज आए किसी ने बताया नहीं, सोए भाई ने नहीं बताया, तुमने नहीं बताया, फिर मैं उसको कंट्रोल किया, मैंने कहा जानिए सब लोग लेट नाइट आए थे, हम लोग तुम्हें डिस्टर्ब नहीं करना था।
और मैं पॉडकास्ट के बंदे पकड़ रहा हूँ आ रहे हैं, थोड़ी सी फीफा की गेम है, आपको पता है इंपॉर्टेंट होती है, तो वो चल रही है। अगली बारी मेरी है सर। So hello everyone and welcome to another Munib Rana podcast. Today with me is Khubaib bhai and Ida. Just a short little introduction, what do you do?
Yeah, so I came here in Germany in 2015. Afterwards, I completed my master's here in Ulm. And now I'm doing my PhD with a professor that was also here in Ulm, but I'm doing my PhD in Stuttgart. So, yeah.
Now, which field did you study?
I field in communications technology, and my track was microelectronics. So what I do is I make small ICs and chips and just hardcore microelectronics, and my PhD is also related to that with some applications in quantum physics.
Awesome. I don't know half the words you said, but sounds cool. And Ida, what are you doing and where are you from?
So I'm from Albania. I also came here in 2015. I studied the same program as Khubaib. I have a master's now in communications technology, and our program offered these two tracks, microelectronics and communications engineering. I did the communications engineering track, and since the last 2 years I'm working in a company called ZF in Friedrichshafen as an R&D engineer in the radar department. I mean, we essentially develop radar technologies, define the, how can I say, the architecture of these radars, specify and implement the signal processing that runs on them, and so on. Yes.
Awesome. The thing about these two, I am interested to do a podcast, is both are from the same field. One of them is doing a PhD. After completing the master, the other one started doing a job. So what I want to know that a lot of people in Germany, like after finishing their masters, just like you guys, they have two options. One to go for a PhD, the other one is to look for a job. So what was your sort of like thinking? Why did you not go for a job right after completing the master? Why did you choose the PhD?
So for me, it was it was just personal motivation and also somehow kind of my field requirements. So there are some fields, and it's completely my personal opinion, and maybe I'm wrong about it, but there are certain fields like, for example, neural networks and software engineering, in which basically you can learn a lot while doing these things. And there is not a lot of theoretical background that you have to learn before you actually become sort of a team lead in any company. However, if you go towards fields like quantum physics, fields like microelectronics, where so much has been done, the field is so mature, so you need to have a certain amount of stature in the field to basically, if you want to work in this and if you want to be some sort of a leading position in the future. So for me, it was a necessity because my field is already very mature and I didn't feel confident even after my master's. I felt that I needed more education and more learning. So that's why I chose PhD, and I was totally motivated towards the research side than research way of doing things than more like the industrial way of doing things.
Okay. Most of the people prefer to get some experience. Like right after master, some people said it's good to have some industrial experience. So whatever happening in the industry, you get the idea. Okay, this thing is going on right now in the industry, and once you have that idea, you can get a certain sort of knowledge. If you want to go like very deep into a field, you have to have the knowledge that this field is actually applicable in the industry.
Yeah.
So some people say that it's always a better idea to go first in the industry, look what's going on in the industry, what sort of research they are demanding.
Yeah.
Didn't you have this sort of thinking that maybe getting experience, then going for a PhD, just like...
I mean, at the point when you do your master's, you completely feel it, where do you stand? And the thing is so just reiterating the question, if I understood it correctly, that going into the industry just for the sake of probing that what is important and what is right now going on in the field is the right thing, because sometimes industries and academias can go in very different directions, and you end up after doing your PhD by not finding any jobs because there is nobody who's working in that particular field where you actually kind of spend 4 years of your life or more than that. But in my case, I was fortunate enough to work with some of the finest in Pakistan in my field, and then I was also I did my master's thesis here in a company. So in these 6 months, I kind of communicated a lot with a lot of professionals. So I kind of probed the industry, and I had kind of a good area. And I also had some interviews. By those interviews, when they asked me certain questions, and I also asked them certain questions that what are they doing, like what kind of proficiency their product is matured at. I also kind of got an idea that what kind of direction that the industry is going. So when I chose to go into the PhD, I was very well assured that I'm going into a path where basically this is going to have a certain job market that I can continue my career in industry after my PhD, and I wouldn't be limited to only academia. Also in Germany, this is highly unlikely that this would happen, that you would do a PhD in applied sciences, that you would do a PhD which is not related to industry, because mostly projects are industry funded. So it is kind of that cause and effect relationship.
I can also agree to that. I mean, my company does.
That was the thing, like if you're doing a PhD, just make sure that you like the topic, because it's like 3 years or 4 years of commitment. You have to be sure that whatever topic you choose, you are interested in that. That's not like closing your eyes, selected a PhD and okay, I'm going to do it. It's a long-term commitment and it demands a lot of struggle. That I'm going to ask to Khubeb bhai just in a little while, but before that, Ida. So same background, almost the same area of qualifications. Why did you choose the job and not the PhD?
The really important factor that we need to point out is that like PhDs are not as easy to come as jobs. By having said that, I do not necessarily mean that I was looking for a PhD and I didn't get one. But obviously, I mean, you are here also as a foreigner and are really, like, how can I say, trying to in some way stay here or like gain that experience. So like you look at what the market has to offer. And obviously at the time when I graduated, jobs were there like much more in numbers compared to PhDs. So PhDs are not so easy to come by. That's one really important
in
thing.
this specific field, I mean, in your field.
No, not in my field. So I work in the autonomous driving industry. I think this industry in the last, like, I don't know, maybe at least decade has been booming. So I think if I wanted a PhD in this position, like radar development or radar signal processing, I think it would have been possible to find one. But I mean, if you look for a job, you could find 10 positions in one day. But if you look for a PhD position, there would be one in, I don't know, if I'm not exaggerating, 1 in 3 months available. And I mean, one has also needs to compare the statistics as well. But for me personally, I did not apply for a PhD. I really went for the job because I did my thesis also on radar signal processing, and the company I'm currently working at also offered similar topics which were very interesting for me, and at the end it was a research and development department as well, so I felt like it was the best combination of both. So I felt like I could stay close to the academia and still like learn more about radar signal processing, but at the same time also, you know, like get real hands-on experience, like see, I mean, what is going on in the market, how do you actually sell a product and so on, like what does it need to have. So that's why I thought this was the best fit for me. But at my workplace, like a lot of people had PhDs already, so I guess, I mean,
so
you could do both.
What is this communication technology is about? What sort of people with a different background, like electrical engineering, computer science, software engineering, can they also apply in this field? Because I think communication technology is not one particular field. Different sort of people with a different sort of specifications or qualifications, they can apply in it. So what do you think, if you are an electrical engineer, would you be able to manage to somehow do the communication technology?
So I mean, like at least talking about my work, so I didn't learn about radars during university. I didn't have a single lecture about radars. I learned a lot of basics during my master thesis, and luckily here in Ulm we have a lot of industry, so I also had a student job at Daimler, where like I really got to learn some basics, or like let's just say I was not a newbie in my first day of job, but this is not something you learn during the studies. But what you learn during the studies is digital communications. You learn a little bit about signal processing. We learned a little bit about high frequency communication and so on. So I would say an electrical engineer can do the same job as me. No problem. I would say strictly a person who studied computer science, I mean, I don't want to sound judgy because I need to look at their curricula right now. I think they would be really good practically, like their programming skills would be very, very good, but maybe they would struggle a little bit with some like signal processing basics if they didn't study those during their studies.
But you can manage it somehow. It's possible.
Yes, of course you can, but how can I say, you're gonna struggle maybe a little bit at the beginning, I would say, because I mean you can learn during the job everything, of course. I mean, when there is will, there is a way. But yeah, I would say maybe some basics to signal processing would be very helpful, like even taking a course beforehand. Nowadays there are courses online too, so
yeah. So what is this, what are the courses you can learn, or what are the different areas you can go while doing the communication technology? Radar processing is the one. There's signal processing, I think. What else did you learn from this course that you think it's applicable in the industry, you can apply at the job afterward after doing this course?
You can apply at like mobile companies like Nokia, like developing of new standards, like 5G is currently going on. You can I mean, the autonomous driving industry right now is so huge. You can do so many things. You can be developing like artificial intelligence algorithms. You could be developing the hardware needed for it and so on. I mean, I would say it's a huge majority, like huge field. I nothing else comes to me to my mind right now. But
it's actually a quite like a range of varieties available if you want to work in like she said, it got like different fields, so you don't have to stick to one area. You can have your qualifications and specifications in more than one area, and then you can apply for the job. So you really have a lot of options, especially when you're doing this sort of subject, like communication technology.
Or in this case, like circuit design.
Yeah, that too.
That is.
So Khubaib bhai, about the PhD, a lot of people ask me from Pakistan, from India, from different regions that how to apply for a PhD. Is it possible if they are back there in Pakistan and they want to apply directly here? If yes, what are the sort of requirements they need?
Yeah, so I mean, there are two ways that people go by through this, and I think I'm not the right person to answer because I didn't really apply rigorously for a PhD. What I did was I just maintained good relations with the professors that I worked with, or tried to, and afterwards I just talked to them personally, and they knew my face, they knew my work, they knew my personality somehow to some extent, and then we kind of had a mutual agreement between each other. What I do know is that to answer that, can you apply for PhDs in Germany from abroad? Then yes, there are lots of students that come. DAAD offers a lot of scholarships. It would be quite challenging to basically find what you are looking for, because to be honest, in Germany the curriculums and the PhDs are designed according to the requirements of the industries very specifically. So it sometimes gets hard that you have the right courses or the right interests that this market needs, and sometimes it can be laborious to look for exactly what those kinds of things are. But what I would want to say over here is that that if you see a certain requirement on any web page, and if you don't really meet the requirements in terms of GPA, in terms of qualifications even, you do not fill all the bullet points in terms of knowledge or software tools that they require, you shouldn't be discouraged by it. You should start an initial channel of communication with them. And that draft that they have drawn to, basically that is for the ideal candidate, but there is no ideal candidate for any PhD position. So apply, and then when you develop a channel of communication, that is the start of everything. Sometimes it happens that the professor likes your CV, but you are not suited for that position, and he has some other positions which is more suited to your skill set, and you get over there. So that is the thing, that don't get discouraged by any kind of hard lines. Just start a communication, and then you progress a little bit. They come down, you go up, and so on.